I can't breathe, Dad. Those 3 words from 9-year-old Micah Johnston shattered what should have been a perfect Christmas Eve. The mac and cheese was burning on the stove. Victor's dress shirt hung ready on the bathroom door. In 90 minutes, he was supposed to meet Rosa Wills for their blind date at the Pearl, the fancy restaurant on Michigan Avenue, where he'd never been, couldn't afford, but was trying anyway, because his son said, "Dad, you deserve to be happy." Now, Micah's lips were turning blue. This wasn't a typical asthma attack. This was every parent's nightmare, watching your child fight for air while you fumble for the rescue inhaler with shaking hands. 1 puff, 2 puffs, nothing. Micah's small chest heaving, his eyes wide with terror. Victor Johnston was an ER nurse. He'd saved hundreds of lives. But when it was his son gasping for oxygen, all that training meant nothing. 5:34 p.m., 86 minutes, until his date. Victor scooped Micah into his arms and ran. Down the apartment stairs in Bronzeville, into his beat-up Honda Civic, racing through red lights with his emergency flashers on, one hand on the wheel, one hand holding his son. "Stay with me, baby. Stay with me." His phone buzzed. "Battery at 22%. Marcus texted, "Called Rosa. She'll wait. Just take care of Micah." 7 p.m. Rosa Wills sat alone at table 12, in the Pearl, watching couples celebrate Christmas Eve while she waited for a man who wasn't coming. This was why she didn't date. This was why she built walls instead of bridges. Her father had abandoned her when she was 12. Brad had called her too much. And now, this stranger, this single father from the South Side she'd never met, was proving her right. She was fundamentally unlovable. But Rosa didn't know something. Neither did the pitying waiters or the other diners who'd gone home to their families. What was about to happen when a soaking wet Victor Johnston burst through the doors at 10:47 p.m., 3 hours and 47 minutes late, still clutching his son's inhaler, tears in his eyes, would change everything. Both of them believed about love, abandonment, and the courage it takes to stay. If you believe real love is about showing up even when you're late, subscribe and type "showed up" in the comments. 36 hours earlier. December 23rd, 11:47 p.m. "Dad, you still awake?" Victor's head snapped up from his phone. Micah stood in the kitchen doorway, dragging his Spider-Man blanket behind him, eyes half closed with sleep. "Yeah, baby." "What's wrong? You okay? Breathing good?" Victor's nurse instincts kicked in immediately, listening for that telltale wheeze. "I'm fine, Dad." "Stop worrying." Micah shuffled closer, climbing onto Victor's lap like he was still 5 instead of 9. "Why are you up so late?" Victor showed him the phone screen. Marcus's text, still waiting for an answer. "Uncle Marcus wants me to go on a date." Micah's eyes went wide. "A date? With a girl?" "With a woman. Her name's Rosa." "Is she nice?" Victor laughed despite himself. "I don't know yet, buddy. That's the whole point of a date." Micah got quiet, playing with the edge of his blanket the way he did when he was thinking hard about something. Finally, he looked up at his dad with those serious brown eyes, Jennifer's eyes, and asked, "Do you miss having a girlfriend?" The question hit Victor like a punch to the chest. "I got you, little man. That's all I need." "But Dad..." Micah's voice got small. "You're always alone. Like, you got me, but you don't got nobody for you. Uncle Marcus got Aunt Keisha. Mrs. Chen got Mr. Chen. Even Deshaun's dad got a new girlfriend, and she's actually pretty cool. When did you get so smart?" "I've always been smart. You just don't listen." Micah grinned, then got serious again. "I think you should go. What if she's really nice? What if she likes dinosaurs? What if she thinks I'm boring? What if she takes one look at me and leaves?" Micah sat up straight, offended. "Dad, You're not boring. You're the coolest. You save people's lives. You make the best mac and cheese. You do all the voices when we read books." He paused. "Plus, you're really handsome. Everybody says so." "Everybody?" "Mrs. Chen says you a catch. Deshawn's mom says you fine as hell. I heard her tell Mrs. Rodriguez." Victor burst out laughing. "You weren't supposed to hear that." "Well, I did. So you gonna text Uncle Marcus or what?" Victor looked at his son, this perfect kid who deserved a happy father, not just a functioning one. He thought about the past 3 years. Every dinner alone. Every holiday, just the two of them. Every night wondering if this was all his life would ever be. His thumb moved across the screen. "Yeah, I'm in." "You did it?" Micah was practically bouncing now. "I did it." "Yes." "Okay, so what's she like? Does she have kids? Does she like Spider-Man? What's her favorite color? You gotta find out her favorite color, Dad. It's important." Victor's phone buzzed. "Marcus! My boy! Finally! Christmas Eve, 7 p.m. The Pearl. Wear something nice. And Vic, don't be late." Micah read the text over his shoulder. "Christmas Eve? That's tomorrow. We gotta get you ready. Do you even know what to wear?" "I got that blue shirt. The one from Grandma's funeral." "Dad, no. It's my only nice shirt." "Then we're going shopping tomorrow. Uncle Marcus has that gift card he gave you for your birthday that you never used." Victor pulled his son into a hug, breathing in the cocoa butter smell of his hair. Somebody had to be the smart one in this family. Same night. 30 minutes later, Rosa's condo. Rosa's phone rang at 12:17 a.m. She knew who it was before she even looked. "Keisha, it's past midnight. Did you say yes or not?" "Marcus is blowing up my phone. Victor said yes an hour ago, and now they're both freaking out." Rosa sat up in bed, her silk pajamas suddenly feeling too expensive, too perfect, too much like the armor she wore every single day. "I don't know if I can do this." "Rosa, no, listen. What if he's like Brad? What if I show up and he takes one look at me and realizes I'm too—" "Stop!" Keisha's voice went hard. Brad was an insecure little boy who couldn't handle dating a woman more successful than him. That's his problem, not yours. But what if? What if Victor's different? What if Marcus is right, and this guy is actually good? What if you finally let yourself have something real instead of hiding behind your work? Rosa's throat tightened. Through her floor-to-ceiling windows, Chicago glittered below her beautiful, distant, safe, just like her life. "What if I get hurt again?" Keisha's voice softened. "Babe, you're already hurt. You've been hurt since your dad left. The question is, are you gonna let that hurt run your whole life? Or are you gonna take a chance?" "I don't know how to take chances anymore." "Yes, you do. You took a chance when you started your company. You took a chance when you left that toxic corporate job. You take chances every day in business. Why not take one on yourself?" Rosa was quiet for a long moment. Then, what if he doesn't show up? What if he does? Rosa closed her eyes, seeing her father's taillights disappearing down their Oak Park Street 23 years ago. Seeing Brad's text, "This isn't working. You're just too much." Seeing every empty chair across from her at every dinner she'd eaten alone. "Okay," she whispered. "I'll go." "Say it louder." "I'll go. That's my girl." "Okay, so Christmas Eve, 7 p.m., the Pearl." Marcus made the reservation. Victor's apparently freaking out about what to wear. His friend said something about tragic Jordans. Despite everything, Rosa laughed. "He sounds normal." "He is normal. That's the point. He's real, Rosa. Like, actually real. Single dad. Works as an ER nurse, raised his kid alone after his wife bailed. Marcus says he's the most solid guy he knows. After they hung up, Rosa sat in her perfect condo with her perfect view and her perfect life that felt increasingly like a prison. She opened her calendar app. Blind date. The Pearl. 7 p.m. Don't cancel this time. She'd programmed that reminder herself after backing out of 3 previous setups. Don't cancel this time. The next evening. December 24th. 5:30 p.m. But Rosa didn't know what was happening 90 minutes before their date. She didn't know that in Victor's cramped Bronzeville kitchen, Micah was gasping for air. She didn't know that Victor's phone was dying as he called 911. She didn't know that the man she was about to meet wouldn't show up at 7 p.m., or 8 p.m., or 9 p.m. And she had no idea that when he finally arrived at 10:47 p.m., 3 hours and 47 minutes late, soaking wet and broken, she'd have to make the hardest choice of her life. Stay and risk everything. Or run like she'd always done before. December 24th, 4:30 p.m. Victor stood in front of his bedroom mirror, the blue button-down hanging off his shoulders like it belonged to someone else, someone confident, someone who went on dates. "Dad, you smell nervous." He turned. Micah sat cross-legged on the bed, surrounded by construction paper and markers, working on something with intense concentration. "I don't smell nervous. That's not a thing." "It is. You smell like the hospital soap and that cheap deodorant. Use the good cologne Uncle Marcus got you for Christmas last year, the one you never opened." Victor opened his dresser drawer, found the cologne still in its box. Ermenegildo Zegna. He couldn't even pronounce it. "This costs more than our electric bill." "So? You're going on a date with a CEO lady? She probably smells expensive." Victor sprayed once, coughed at the intensity. "How do you know so much about this?" "YouTube." Micah didn't look up from his project. "Also, those jeans are better than the khakis. The khakis make you look like somebody's substitute teacher. I'm taking fashion advice from a 9-year-old. You should." "I got style." Micah held up what he'd been working on, a Christmas card covered in glitter and carefully drawn purple swirls. "For Rosa. Purple's her favorite color, right?" I don't actually know. Dad, you gotta know these things. I'm putting purple anyway. Girls like purple." Across town, Rosa's office looked like a bomb had gone off in a Nordstrom. 3 outfits laid across her leather couch, 2 more draped over her desk chair, shoes scattered across the imported rug. "You're spiraling." Keisha's voice came through the phone on speaker. "I'm not spiraling. I'm preparing." Rosa held up the emerald blouse again, then threw it down. "What if this is a mistake? What if— Stop! Just stop. You're gonna show up, be yourself, and see what happens. That's it. No catastrophizing. But what if he takes one look at me and what? Realizes you're smart and successful and beautiful? Oh no! How terrible!" Rosa sank into her desk chair, staring at the Chicago skyline going dark outside her windows. Brad said, "I was intimidating." Brad was an insecure little bitch who couldn't handle a woman making more money than him. Victor's not Brad. You don't know that? Marcus knows him. Marcus doesn't vouch for people lightly. And Victor's a single dad who works as an ER nurse. You think that man gets intimidated easy? Rosa picked up the emerald blouse. What if I'm too much? Then he's not enough. But Rosa? Just this once. Let yourself want something. Let yourself hope. At 5:15 p.m., Victor was ready. Dark jeans, the blue button-down that Micah approved of, the expensive cologne he couldn't pronounce. His hands shook as he checked his phone. "Marcus, you got this, bro. Just be yourself." Micah appeared with the purple card, now sealed in an envelope with Rosa written in his careful handwriting. "Give her this. Tell her I hope she likes dinosaurs. What if she doesn't? Then she's weird. But you should still be nice to her. Victor pulled his son into a hug, breathing in that cocoa butter smell, memorizing this moment. I love you, little man. Love you too, Dad. Now go. You're gonna be late. At 6 p.m., Rosa left her office wearing the emerald blouse and her best armor of confidence. The Pearl. 7 p.m. She could do this, but neither of them knew that in exactly 30 minutes, everything would fall apart. 5:30 p.m. Victor stirred the pot of mac and cheese, the kind from the blue box that Micah loved, while green beans steamed in the microwave. He was already dressed, cologne applied, ready to leave at 6:15. Plenty of time to get Micah fed, settled with Mrs. Chen next door, and make it downtown. Smells good, Dad. Micah was at the kitchen table, coloring another dinosaur picture. Then Victor heard it. That sound that made every parent instinct in his body go on high alert. The wheeze. He turned. Micah had stopped coloring, one hand pressed to his chest. His breathing was rapid, shallow. Wrong. Micah! Baby, you okay? I'm... Cough. Fine. Just another cough. Deeper. Wetter. Can't. Victor was across the kitchen in 2 steps. He pressed his hand to Micah's back. Felt the labor of each breath. Where's your inhaler? Nightstand. Wheeze. Cough. Dad. I can't. Can't breathe. Victor ran to the bedroom, grabbed the blue rescue inhaler, was back in seconds. Okay, baby, look at me. 1 puff. Good. Breathe in. Hold it. He administered the first puff. Waited. Nothing changed. Micah's chest was heaving, pulling in with each desperate breath. Second puff. Come on, baby! Breathe for me! Micah's eyes were wide with panic now. The same panic Victor felt rising in his own chest. The inhaler should be working. It always worked. Third puff. Maximum dose. Micah's lips were turning blue. No! No, no, no! Victor grabbed his phone. 2% battery. Jesus Christ. He'd forgotten to charge it and dialed 911. 911. What's your emergency? My son, 9 years old. Asthma attack inhaler's not working. His lips are blue. Sir, what's your address? Victor gave it. His voice steady because he was a nurse. Because he knew how to do this. Even as his hands shook holding his son. He needs a nebulizer treatment. Possibly epinephrine. He's in respiratory distress. Ambulance is on the way, sir. ETA, 7 minutes. 7 minutes. Eternity. Dad. Micah's voice was barely a whisper. Scared. I know, baby. I know. But you stay with me, okay? You stay with Daddy. Ambulance is coming. We're gonna be fine. Through the window, Victor saw Mrs. Chen's curtain move. The neighbors always knew when something was wrong. At 5:47 p.m., red and blue lights painted the apartment walls. Victor heard heavy footsteps on the stairs. Then, paramedics were in his kitchen. 2 of them, efficient and calm. Respiratory distress. 9-year-old male, known asthmatic, they had Micah on oxygen in seconds. Checking vitals, loading him onto the gurney. Victor grabbed his keys, his wallet, Micah's insurance card. His phone buzzed. 1% battery. A text from Marcus. Heading out yet? Don't be late, bro. Victor tried to call Rosa. He didn't even have her number. Just knew Marcus had given it to him somewhere. He'd planned to program it in the car, but his phone died mid-dial. Screen going black. Sir? You riding with us? Yeah. Yes. Victor climbed into the ambulance, took Micah's small hand in his. His son's fingers were cold. As they pulled onto King Drive, sirens screaming. Victor looked at his son's oxygen mask, the paramedic checking his pulse, the Chicago streets blurring past. He thought about Rosa. About the Pearl. About 7 p.m. "I'm so sorry, Rosa," he whispered. But Rosa didn't know any of this yet. She was in her Streeterville condo, touching up her makeup, believing that in 90 minutes she'd finally meet someone who might stay. She had no idea she was about to spend the worst 3 hours of her life. 7 p.m. Rosa sat alone at table 12, the one by the window where she could watch Michigan Avenue sparkle with Christmas lights. Couples walked past, bundled in scarves, carrying shopping bags, laughing. She smoothed her emerald blouse for the third time and checked her phone. Nothing. 7:15 p.m. Traffic. It had to be traffic. Christmas Eve in downtown Chicago was a nightmare. Her water glass was already empty. The waiter, young, professionally sympathetic, refilled it without asking. "Your date running late?" "Looks like it." 7:30 p.m. Rosa ordered wine. Pinot Grigio. Something to do with her hands. She took a sip and watched a family of 4 get seated across the room. The kids in their Christmas best, parents holding hands across the table. Her phone buzzed. Hope flared, then died. Just her mother. "Coming tomorrow at 2? Making your favorite roast." Rosa typed back. "Working. Sorry. We'll try to call later." She wasn't working. She was sitting alone at a restaurant, wearing her best armor, waiting for a man who apparently wasn't coming. 7:45 p.m. She felt the glances now. Other diners noticing the woman alone, the empty chair across from her. That particular kind of pity reserved for people who'd been stood up. She took another sip of wine and opened her email, pretending to work. 8 p.m. The wine glass was empty. The waiter appeared with the bottle. "Another? Please." She should leave. She knew she should leave. This was exactly what Keisha had promised wouldn't happen. "Victor's different," she'd said. "He's solid. Solid men didn't stand you up on Christmas Eve." 8:30 p.m. Rosa thought about Brad. About the text he'd sent after 3 months of dating. "This isn't working. You're just too much. Too successful. Too busy. Too intimidating." The subtext was clear. Too much woman for a man who needed to feel bigger than he was. Maybe Victor had Googled her, seen her company website, her Forbes interview, the Chicago Tribune article about women CEOs. Maybe he'd realized what he was getting into and decided it wasn't worth it. 9 p.m. Her father's face appeared in the window's reflection, superimposed over Michigan Avenue. She was 12 again, watching his taillights disappear down their Oak Park street. He'd promised to come back. Promised this was just temporary, just until he figured some things out. She never saw him again. "You're too much, Rosa," her mother had said years later, after too much wine. "You've always been too much." That's why he left. 9:30 p.m. Rosa finished the second glass of wine. The restaurant was starting to empty. Families heading home to put kids to bed before Santa came, couples moving on to whatever romantic Christmas Eve plans they'd made. She was the only person still sitting alone. 10 p.m. She signaled for the check. The waiter brought it immediately, his sympathy now mixed with relief that she was finally leaving. "I'm sorry about your evening. It's fine. Merry Christmas." "Merry Christmas, miss." 10:15 p.m. Rosa paid in cash, overtipping because she felt pathetic, and compensation was easier than feelings. She gathered her coat, her purse, the dignity she had left. This was it. This was why she didn't date. Why she stayed behind her walls, in her perfect condo, with her perfect career and her perfect loneliness. Because hoping hurt too much. 10:30 p.m. She was standing, coat half on, when the restaurant door burst open. A man stumbled in soaking wet from rain she hadn't realized had started. dress shirt plastered to his chest, dark jeans dripping water onto the hardwood. He was breathing hard, eyes wild, searching the room desperately. When their eyes met across the restaurant, Rosa's heart stopped. Victor. 3 hours and 30 minutes late, and he was running toward her like his life depended on it. 10:47 p.m. Victor stood in the Pearl's entrance, water pooling at his feet, chest heaving like he'd run the entire way from the hospital. His button-down shirt, the one Micah had approved of, the one that was supposed to make him look put together, was wrinkled and stained with antiseptic. His hair was plastered to his forehead, and in his right hand, clutched so tight his knuckles were white. Rosa stared at him from across the restaurant, coat half on, purse already in her hand. Their eyes met. For 3 seconds, neither moved. The restaurant had gone quiet, the remaining staff and last few diners watching this scene unfold. Then, Victor crossed the room in long strides, words tumbling out before he even reached her table. "I'm so sorry." His voice cracked. "My son Micah, he had an asthma attack. I couldn't." His lips were blue, and the inhaler wasn't working. "Stop." Rosa's voice was ice. "Just stop." Victor stopped. Water dripped from his clothes onto the hardwood floor. He looked destroyed, eyes red-rimmed, hands shaking. That inhaler still gripped like it was the only thing keeping him upright. "I know how this looks," he said quietly. "I know what you're thinking. But I swear to God, Rosa, I tried. My phone died in the ambulance. I've been at the hospital for 5 hours. They just stabilized him 20 minutes ago, and I ran. I literally ran here because I couldn't let you think." "Think what?" Rosa's throat was tight. "That you stood me up? That you're like every other man who—" "I'm not." Victor took a step closer. She could see it now, the hospital wristband still on his wrist, the stains on his shirt that she recognized as medical adhesive, the absolute terror still lingering in his eyes. "My son almost died tonight, and I still came. Because I promised Marcus I'd show up. Because you were waiting. Because—" His voice broke completely. He looked down at the inhaler in his hand, and Rosa saw his shoulders shake. "Is he okay?" The words came out before she could stop them. Victor's head snapped up. "What?" "Your son. Micah. He's stable. My neighbor Mrs. Chen is with him. They're keeping him overnight for observation, but he's breathing. He's—" Victor wiped his eyes with the back of his hand. "He made you a card. Purple. He said I had to find out your favorite color, but I guessed purple. And now the card's probably ruined in my car, and—" "Sit down." Victor blinked. "What?" Rosa pulled out the chair across from her, the one that had been empty for 3 hours and 30 minutes. "Sit down," she repeated, her voice softer now. "Tell me everything." "Rosa, it's almost 11. I'm soaking wet. I look like—" I said, "Sit down." Victor sat. Water squelched from his clothes. He set the inhaler on the table between them like an offering, like proof. The waiter appeared, bewildered. "Can I get you anything?" "Coffee," Rosa said, not taking her eyes off Victor. "And whatever he wants. I don't need—" "Victor, what do you want?" He looked at her, really looked at her, like he was seeing her for the first time. The emerald blouse, the wine glass, the 3 hours she'd waited, the fact that she was still here. "Just water," he whispered. "Please." The waiter disappeared. The restaurant was empty now except for them and the staff, pretending not to watch. Rosa leaned forward. "Start from the beginning, and don't leave anything out." So Victor did. He told her about the mac and cheese, about Micah's blue lips, about the paramedics and the ambulance, and sitting in the ER where he worked but couldn't save his own son. He told her about his phone dying, about begging a nurse to let him use the hospital phone but not having Rosa's number memorized, about the 5 hours of hell wondering if his son would be okay. And Rosa listened. She listened as her walls cracked, as every instinct to run fought against something deeper. The way his voice broke when he talked about Micah. The way he still clutched that inhaler. The way he'd come anyway. When he finished, they sat in silence. Finally, Rosa spoke. "Why didn't you just go home?" Victor looked at her with those exhausted, honest eyes. "Because I promised I'd show up. And I don't break promises to people. He stopped. To people who matter." Rosa felt something shift in her chest. Something terrifying and inevitable. "My father left when I was 12, she heard herself say. Just drove away one night and never came back. Every man since then has left too. One way or another. I've been sitting here for 3 hours convincing myself you were just another one. I'm not. How do I know that?" Victor reached across the table. His hand was still shaking. "I don't know how to prove it, except to keep showing up. Even when I'm late. Even when I'm a mess. Even when everything falls apart." Rosa looked at his hand. Calloused and honest, and reaching for her across a table in an empty restaurant on Christmas Eve. Every instinct screamed, "Run!" But she reached back. Their fingers touched. And neither of them knew that in 6 weeks his ex-wife would return with a lawyer, forcing Rosa to decide just how far she'd go for a man she barely knew. Claude is AI and can make mistakes. Please double-check responses. 11 p.m. The staff was wiping down tables, stacking chairs, pretending not to watch the soaking wet man and the woman in the emerald blouse holding hands across table 12. "Tell me about your father," Victor said quietly. Rosa's hand twitched in his, but she didn't pull away. "Why?" "Because you said he left. Because I saw your face when I walked in. You thought I was him." Rosa was quiet for a long moment. Outside, Christmas Eve was turning into Christmas Day. Snow starting to fall on Michigan Avenue, soft and forgiving. "I was 12, she finally said. He'd been drinking more, coming home later. Sometimes not at all. My mom pretended everything was fine. Then, one night, or November, cold like this, he packed a bag. Said he needed to figure some things out. Promised he'd call. Did he? Once. 3 months later. Drunk. Said he was sorry, that he wasn't cut out for family life. That I'd understand when I was older." Rosa's voice went flat. "I'm 35. Still don't understand how you walk away from your kid." Victor's thumb traced circles on her palm. "Don't be. Made me who I am, right? CEO? Corner office? Walls so high nobody can hurt me?" She laughed bitterly. "Worked great until tonight, when I sat here for 3 hours, proving I'm still that 12-year-old watching taillights disappear." "Rosa, I almost left. At 10:30, I had my coat on. I was done. Then you walked through that door, looking like you'd fought your way through hell to get here. And I—" Her voice cracked. "I didn't know whether to hit you or hug you. Which one are you leaning toward?" Despite everything, she smiled. Still deciding. Victor shifted his chair closer, their knees touching now under the table. "I can't promise I'll never be late again. Micah's asthma. It's unpredictable. Sometimes it's fine for months. Then, bam, we're in the ER. My life is chaos, Rosa. I work 12-hour shifts. I got medical bills I'm paying off in installments. My apartment smells weird near the radiator, and I can't figure out why. My car makes a noise when I turn left. I'm not." He gestured at the restaurant, at her designer blouse, at the life she'd built. "This. You think I want this?" Rosa looked around at the pearl's empty elegance. "I eat alone in restaurants like this 3 times a week. My condo is pristine because nobody lives there with me. I work 80-hour weeks because it's easier than going home to silence. You think your life is chaos? At least your chaos matters. At least you have someone who needs you. You matter, Rosa. To who? My employees? My mother who I lie to? Who has to beg me to take one night off for a date? To me. Victor said simply, You matter to me. And I know that sounds crazy because we just met, because I'm 3 hours late, because this is the worst first date in history. Second worst. There's a worse one? Guy brought his ex-girlfriend. Said he wanted to make sure he was over her before committing to something new. Jesus. Yeah. So you're only second worst. Rosa's smile faded. But Victor, I need you to understand something. I don't do this. The waiting, the vulnerability, the letting someone in. And if I do this, if I let myself try with you, I need to know you're serious. Because I can't. Her voice broke. I can't be left again. I won't survive it. Victor pulled out his phone, now charged from the hospital, and opened his contacts. Give me your number. Rosa rattled it off. He programmed it in, then called her. Her phone buzzed in her purse. Now you have mine, he said. And I'm telling you right now, I'm going to call you tomorrow. And the day after. And the day after that. I'm going to show up, Rosa. Maybe not always on time. Maybe not always perfect. But I'm going to show up. How do you know? How can you promise that when you have a son who needs you, a job that demands everything, a life that's already full? Because I want this. Victor's voice was raw with honesty. I want you. I've wanted something for myself, not just for Micah, not just to survive, but for me for 3 years. And then Marcus showed me your picture, and I was terrified. Because women like you don't date guys like me. But Micah said I should be gooder than just fine. And maybe he's right. Gooder isn't a word. He invented it. Rosa laughed, and it felt like the first real breath she'd taken in hours. The waiter appeared, apologetic. Folks, I hate to interrupt, but we closed 20 minutes ago. They looked around. The restaurant was dark, except for their table, the staff hovering by the kitchen, ready to go home to their own Christmas mornings. We should go, Rosa said. They stood. Victor grabbed his coat from where he'd dropped it by the door. Rosa pulled on hers, suddenly awkward, unsure of what happened next. Outside, snow was falling harder now, coating Michigan Avenue in white. Victor's car, a Honda Civic with visible rust, was parked illegally in a loading zone, hazard lights still blinking. That's gonna be a ticket, Rosa observed. Worth it. Victor turned to her, snowflakes catching in his hair. Can I see you again? Officially? Like a real date where I show up on time and we actually eat food? Rosa looked at this man-wrinkled shirt, exhausted eyes, hands that shook slightly from adrenaline crash, still holding his son's inhaler like a talisman. Every logical part of her brain screamed danger. Run. Protect yourself. But she'd run for 23 years. Yeah, she whispered. I'd like that. Victor's smile could have lit up the whole city. Tomorrow? No, today. Christmas. Can I call you? You better. They stood there in the snow, neither wanting to leave, both terrified of what came next. Finally, Victor leaned in. Not for a kiss too soon, too much, but to press his forehead gently against hers. Thank you, he breathed, for staying. Thank you for coming. He pulled back, squeezed her hand once more, then walked to his car. Rosa watched him drive away, hazards blinking, exhaust pipe coughing smoke into the Christmas morning air. She stood alone on Michigan Avenue, snow falling around her, and pulled out her phone. She texted Keisha. I stayed. Keisha's response was immediate. And? Rosa smiled, typing. I think I'm in trouble. The good kind? Rosa looked at Victor's number saved in her phone. Felt the ghost of his forehead against hers. Remembered the way he'd run through the rain to reach her. Yeah, she typed. The good kind. But neither of them knew that in 6 weeks, a woman named Jennifer, would knock on Victor's door with a lawyer, and Rosa would have to decide if the good kind of trouble was worth the devastation that was coming. December 27th, 6:30 p.m. Pearl's Diner sat on 47th Street in Bronzeville, the kind of place where the grease was honest and the portions generous. Rosa pulled up in her BMW, suddenly aware of how out of place she looked. Through the window, she could see Victor already in a booth, wearing jeans and a sweater that made him look softer than the soaked, desperate man from Christmas Eve. He stood when she walked in, that nervous smile that made her chest tight. "You came. You doubted me?" "Little bit." He gestured to the vinyl booth. "This okay? I know it's not the Pearl. It's perfect." And it was. The menu was laminated. The waitress called everyone baby. And when their food arrived, fried catfish, collard greens, mac and cheese that should have been illegal, Rosa realized she hadn't eaten a meal this real in years. Victor told her about nursing school, how he'd almost quit during his first clinical rotation when a patient coded and he froze. The attending nurse, Miss Patterson, she grabbed my hand, put it on the patient's chest, and said, "You feel that? That's life trying to stay. Help it." Changed everything. Rosa found herself laughing, really laughing, at his impression of Miss Patterson's South Side accent. She told him about building her company from nothing, working out of a Starbucks for the first year, eating ramen for dinner so she could afford business cards. "Your father ever know you succeeded?" Victor asked gently. Rosa's fork paused. "No. He died when I was 23. Cirrhosis. Never reached out once in 11 years. Victor's hand covered hers across the table. "I'm sorry." "Don't be. I learned to—" Victor's phone buzzed. His whole body went rigid. Rosa knew that. Look, she'd seen it. Christmas Eve. "It's Marcus," Victor said, voice tight. "He's watching Micah. Says he's having trouble breathing. Go." Rosa pulled her hand back. "It's okay. Go." "Rosa, Victor was already standing, grabbing his coat, that same panic flooding his eyes. "I'm so sorry. I thought tonight would be different." "Victor, go to your son." He ran. Rosa sat alone in the booth, their food still steaming. The waitress came by, sympathetic. "Baby, you want me to box that up?" "Yeah, thanks." January 3rd. Date 2, at a Thai place in Wicker Park. Micah called 40 minutes in breathing trouble. Victor left his pad Thai untouched. January 10th. Date 3. Movie at the AMC on Roosevelt. They didn't make it past the previews. Micah had a fever of 103. January 17th. Date 4, actually finished. Victor's phone stayed quiet. They kissed in his car outside her Streeterville condo, soft and careful, both of them waiting for the interruption that didn't come. January 24th. Date 5, at an Italian restaurant in Little Italy. Rosa was telling him about her biggest client when his phone lit up. She watched his face drain of color before he even answered. "I have to." "I know." After he left, Rosa sat in her car and called Keisha. "I can't do this." "What happened?" "Nothing happened." That's the problem. Nothing ever just happens. It's always interrupted. It's always Micah. And I know that's his son. I know that's not negotiable. But Keisha, her voice cracked, I'm never going to be the priority. I'm the thing that happens between emergencies. I'm my father's daughter all over again, waiting for someone who's never really there. But he comes back. Rosa stared out at the Chicago streets, salt-stained and cold. Yeah, he comes back. So, what are you going to do? Rosa thought about Victor's face when he looked at her, the way he said her name like it meant something. She thought about Micah's Christmas card, the one with dinosaurs, and her name spelled wrong but drawn with so much care. I don't know, she whispered. But on February 11th, Rosa's doorbell rang at 9 p.m. She opened it, expecting a delivery. Instead, she found a woman she'd never met. Blonde, polished, apologetic smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Hi," the woman said. "I'm Jennifer, Victor's wife." Rosa stared at the woman on her doorstep. "Ex-wife," he said. "Ex-wife." "Right. Ex." Jennifer's smile was practiced, pleasant, poisonous. "I just wanted to introduce myself. Victor's told you about me?" "Not much." Rosa's hand tightened on the doorframe. Every instinct screamed danger. That sounds like him. Always so private. Jennifer glanced past Rosa into the condo, the minimalist furniture, the city views, the life Rosa had built. Nice place. Victor said, "You were successful. CEO, right? What do you want, Jennifer?" "Just to talk. About Micah. About what's best for him." Jennifer's eyes went cold. "I made mistakes. I'm ready to fix them. I'm back in Chicago now. I want to be his mother again." Rosa's stomach dropped. "Does Victor know you're here?" "He will tomorrow. My lawyer's with me." Jennifer pulled out a business card. "Whitman and Associates. Family Law. We're filing for joint custody. Micah deserves his mother, don't you think?" Before Rosa could respond, Jennifer walked away, heels clicking against the hallway tile. Rosa stood frozen, card in hand, world tilting. The next morning, Victor opened his apartment door expecting Marcus. Instead, Jennifer, 3 years of silence, standing on his doorstep like she'd just run to the store. "Hi, baby." Her voice was soft, apologetic, everything she'd been before she left. "I know this is a shock. Get out." Victor's voice was flat. "Victor, please." "I made a mistake. I was overwhelmed. I was young. I didn't know how to be a mom. But I've changed. I'm in therapy. I'm sober. I want to be Micah's mother." "You walked out. You didn't call on his birthday." "I know. I know. And I'm so sorry." Jennifer's eyes filled with tears, real or fake. Victor couldn't tell anymore. "But I'm here now. I want to make it right." A man appeared behind her. Suit, briefcase, shark eyes. "Mr. Johnston, I'm David Whitman. Miss Johnston has retained me to file for joint custody. We believe it's in Micah's best interest to have both parents actively involved in his life." Victor's world tilted. "You can't be serious." "We're very serious." Whitman handed him papers. "You'll be served formally next week. We're prepared to demonstrate that Miss Johnston has completed rehabilitation, maintained sobriety, and is ready to resume parental responsibilities." She abandoned him. She left a note. She was experiencing postpartum depression, untreated and severe. She's since received proper care. Whitman's smile was clinical. "We're not seeking full custody, Mr. Johnston. Just what's fair." Jennifer stepped closer. "I'm not trying to hurt you, Victor. I just want to know my son." After they left, Victor stood in his doorway, papers clutched in shaking hands. "Rosa, dinner tonight?" Victor stared at the message. Jennifer's lawyer card. The life he'd built for 3 years suddenly under siege. He thought about Rosa, successful, put together, someone who'd already been abandoned once. He texted back, "Something happened. Need to talk." That night, Rosa's condo felt like a museum. Beautiful, cold, controlled. Victor sat on her minimalist couch, papers spread on the glass coffee table. "She came to your place first?" Victor's voice was hollow. "Last night. Wanted to introduce herself." Rosa poured whiskey. She didn't usually drink. "I should have called you immediately. You didn't know." Victor rubbed his face. "Jesus. 3 years. 3 years of nothing. And now she wants to play mom? What are you going to do? Fight it. She doesn't get to disappear and come back when it's convenient." Victor looked at Rosa, really looked at her. But I need you to understand something. This is going to get ugly. Jennifer's lawyer? He's good. He's going to dig into everything. My work schedule, my apartment, my finances. He paused. My relationship with you. Rosa went still. What does that mean? It means you're going to be part of this, whether you want to be or not. They're going to ask how long we've been dating. They're going to point out you're white, that you have money, that Micah barely knows you. They're going to make it look like I'm destabilizing his life with some new woman I've known for 6 weeks. 7 weeks, Rosa said quietly. 7 weeks? Victor's laugh was bitter. Against 3 years of me doing this alone. Against his biological mother coming back. Rosa sat beside him, careful not to touch. What are you asking me, Victor? He turned to face her fully. Eyes red-rimmed, exhausted. I'm asking if this gets ugly, if they drag you through court, if your name ends up in custody filings, if your clients see you connected to this mess, will you stay or will you go? The question hung between them like a blade. Rosa thought about her father's taillights, about Brad, calling her too much, about every time she'd built walls to avoid exactly this moment, the moment someone asked her to stay, when leaving would be so much easier. I need to think, she whispered. Victor's face crumbled, but he nodded. Okay. He left without kissing her goodbye. Rosa sat alone in her perfect condo. Victor's question echoing, will you stay or will you go? She pulled out her phone and called the one person who'd tell her the truth. Keisha. Rosa's voice shook. I think I'm about to make the stupidest decision of my life. March 15th. Cook County Courthouse smelled like floor polish and broken families. Victor sat at the defendant's table in his only suit, the one from his grandmother's funeral, while Jennifer looked like she'd stepped out of a magazine, navy dress, pearls, the picture of maternal redemption. David Whitman paced like a predator. Mr. Johnston, how many hours per week do you work? Depends. 48 to 60. Victor's voice was steady, but his hands shook under the table. And during those hours, who cares for Micah? Mrs. Rodriguez, my neighbor. Sometimes. Marcus, my best friend. Micah's in school most days. So strangers raise your son while you work? They're not strangers. They're family. Family you pay? Whitman smiled. Mrs. Rodriguez testified, you compensate her $20 per hour. That's not family, Mr. Johnston. That's hired help. Victor's lawyer, Patricia Chen, objected. Whitman continued. You're also in a new relationship, correct? With a woman named Rosa Wills? Victor's jaw tightened. Yes. How long have you known Miss Wills? 10 weeks. 10 weeks? And Micah has met her how many times? 5, maybe 6. 5 or 6 times in 10 weeks. Yet you're introducing a virtual stranger into your son's life during an already stressful custody dispute. Is this the stability Micah needs, Mr. Johnston? Rosa's not a stranger. She's a CEO who works 80-hour weeks, lives in a luxury condo downtown, has no children of her own, and has known your son for less than 3 months. Correct? Patricia stood. Objection? Relevance? I'm establishing a pattern of instability, Your Honor. Mr. Johnston's chaotic work schedule, his reliance on paid caregivers, his new romantic relationship with someone wholly unfamiliar with Micah's medical needs. Objection sustained. Move on, Mr. Whitman. But Victor saw the judge's face, the doubt creeping in. During recess, Rosa sat in the hallway, hands clasped, breathing controlled. Patricia approached. You're up after lunch. Are you ready? No. Rosa's voice was honest. But I'm doing it anyway. They're going to come after you hard. Your relationship timeline, your lack of parenting experience, the interracial dynamic. Let them. At 2:15 p.m., Rosa took the stand. Whitman circled immediately. Miss Wills, you've known Mr. Johnston for how long? 10 weeks. 10 weeks! And in that time, you've been on how many successful dates that weren't interrupted by his son's medical emergencies? Rosa met his eyes. 2. Whitman's smile was cruel. So, 8 of your dates ended with Mr. Johnston abandoning you to care for his child. Yet you're here testifying on his behalf. Why? Guilt? Pity? Neither. Then what? Rosa looked at Victor, exhausted. Terrified, fighting for his son with everything he had. Love. The courtroom went silent. Whitman recovered. You love a man you've known for 10 weeks? Whom you've successfully spent time with twice? Who has a chronically ill child who will always come first? Yes. And you presume to testify about his character? His ability to parent? Rosa's voice didn't shake. I know what devotion looks like, Mr. Whitman. I've watched him sacrifice sleep, money, his own health. Everything. For that little boy. I've seen him arrive 3 hours late to our first date because he was saving his son's life, still come anyway to apologize. I've watched him cancel plans, miss meals, run out of restaurants because Micah needed him. And you know what? He should, because that's what real love does. It shows up. It stays. It doesn't abandon. Her eyes found Jennifer. Some people walk away when things get hard. Victor never has. Not once. So yes, I've known him 10 weeks, but I've seen more real parenting in those 10 weeks than some people manage in a lifetime. Silence. Victor's eyes filled with tears. Jennifer looked away. The judge cleared her throat. Miss Wills, you may step down. At 4:47 p.m., Judge Morrison delivered her ruling. Having reviewed all testimony and evidence, I find that Mr. Johnston has provided stable, loving care for his son for 3 years, while Miss Johnston's rehabilitation efforts are commendable. I see insufficient evidence that disrupting Micah's current arrangement serves his best interest. Petition for joint custody is denied. Supervised visitation may be reconsidered in 6 months. Victor collapsed into Patricia's arms. Jennifer's perfect facade cracked. She left without a word. Rosa sat in the gallery, numb, as reporters approached. By 6 p.m., her phone was exploding. 2 clients, both conservative family foundations, left messages terminating their contracts. Recent public statements incompatible with our organization's values. Keisha texted, I'm seeing your name in the Tribune. You okay? Rosa stared at her phone. She'd lost clients. Her reputation was compromised. Her private life was now public record. She looked up to find Victor pushing through the courthouse crowd, eyes wild, searching for her. When he reached her, she stood. Rosa. His voice broke. I'm so sorry. Your clients, your business. She grabbed his face in both hands and kissed him. Hard. Public. In the Cook County Courthouse hallway with cameras still rolling. When she pulled back, Victor was crying. I'm not going anywhere, Rosa whispered. You hear me? I'm staying. But outside the courthouse, Jennifer stood beside a black sedan. Phone pressed to her ear. Speaking to someone unseen. She smiled when she saw Victor and Rosa emerge together. Whatever she was planning, this wasn't over. Victor and Rosa broke apart from their kiss in the courthouse hallway. Both breathing hard, cameras still flashing around them. Patricia Chen appeared at Victor's elbow. Urgent. You two need to leave. Now! Before more press shows up, they pushed through the crowd. Victor's hand locked around Rosa's, navigating marble corridors that echoed with footsteps and whispered conversations. Outside, the March wind hit them like a wall, brutal, cutting, Lake Michigan showing no mercy. Rosa stopped on the courthouse steps, finally feeling the cold. I left my coat inside. Here. Victor shrugged off his suit jacket, draped it over her shoulders. It smelled like him soap and coffee and something indefinably Victor. You'll freeze. I'm fine. But he wasn't. He was shaking. And not from cold. Rosa, what you did in there? Don't. She turned to face him, both of them 3 steps down from the entrance, wind whipping her hair across her face. Don't apologize. Don't feel guilty. You lost clients. Because of me. Yeah. She laughed wild, unhinged, free. I did. 2 of them. Foundation contracts. 7 figures combined. Gone before we even left the building. Victor's face crumbled. Jesus. Rosa, this is exactly what I was afraid of. Your business, your reputation. Want to know what I gained? She grabbed his hands, both of them shaking from cold or adrenaline or terror. A man who doesn't push me away when things get hard. Who doesn't call me too much or intimidating when I'm just being myself. A kid who made me a birthday card last week with dinosaurs on it because he remembered I said I liked Jurassic Park. A reason to believe that staying is braver than leaving. Victor stared at her like she'd spoken a language he'd forgotten existed. I watched my father drive away when I was 12. Rosa continued, words tumbling faster. I watched every man I've dated walk away when I got successful, when I made more money, when I was anything other than quiet and small. And today, I chose to stay. I testified, lost clients, got my name in the Tribune, and I'd do it again. Because you're worth it, Victor. This is worth it. I'm a mess. Victor's voice was raw. Single dad. South Side apartment that smells weird. Kid with asthma who might need me at any second. Medical bills I'm paying off until Micah's in college. I work 12-hour shifts. I'm exhausted all the time. My car makes that noise. When you turn left. I know. Rosa smiled through tears. I'm a mess too. Rich mess, but still a mess. I work 80-hour weeks because I'm terrified of silence. I eat alone in expensive restaurants. I've built walls so high nobody can climb them. We're both disasters, Victor. So what are we doing? I don't know. Rosa stepped closer, their faces inches apart. But I know I'm tired of running. I know that when you look at me, I feel seen, actually seen for the first time. And I know being scared and staying anyway is the whole point. Victor cupped her face, thumbs wiping away tears. I love you. I know it's too soon and too fast and probably crazy, but I love you, Rosa Wills. I love you too. The words felt foreign and right. So, we're doing this? For real? We're doing this. He kissed her as snow started falling, impossible March snow. Around them, people navigated the courthouse steps, but they existed in their own world. Victor! They broke apart. Jennifer stood beside a black sedan across the street, phone in hand, recording them. Her smile was all kindness and poison. I just want you to know, I'm proud of you. Getting help, building a support system. Her eyes slid to Rosa. Micah deserves stability. I'm glad he'll have that now. It felt like a threat, wrapped in blessing. What do you want, Jennifer? Victor's voice turned to ice. Nothing. Just saying goodbye. For now. She smiled directly at Rosa. Take care of my son. The sedan pulled away, leaving them in the snow. Rosa's phone buzzed. Then, Victor's. Then Rosa's again. Victor looked at his screen. Marcus. Bro? You seeing this? A link to the Tribune website. The headline made his blood run cold. Custody battle exposes healthcare workers' unstable home life. Child's mother seeks protection. The article was already live. Posted 12 minutes ago. Jennifer's side of the story. Written like she was the victim. Victor's hands shook as he read. Rosa looked over his shoulder, her face going pale. She planned this, Rosa whispered. The whole time. Even losing in court, she planned this. Victor's phone rang. His supervisor at the hospital. Then Patricia Chen. Then a number he didn't recognize, probably press. Victor! Rosa grabbed his face, forcing him to look at her. Whatever's coming, we face it together. You hear me? Together, he nodded. But his eyes were haunted. Because if you made it this far, if Victor and Rosa's choice to stay when leaving was easier moved something in you, then don't just watch their story be part of keeping it alive. Hit that like button right now. Because stories about real love that costs something. About staying when every instinct screams run. These stories matter. Subscribe so you don't miss what happens next when Jennifer's lies start spreading. Share this with someone who needs to know that being broken doesn't disqualify you from being loved. Your like tells me to keep going. Your subscription tells me these stories matter. Your share might be exactly what someone needs to hear today. Don't scroll past this. Don't let their story end here.